Good morning, everyone. For those who are just joining us today, welcome to Intellect's Mental Health Festival 2025. I'm Aisha, your MC for today's session. So, at Intellect, we're committed to making mental health care and well-being support accessible for all. Our goal is to empower organizations and individuals to prioritize employee well-being and create thriving workplaces. I am so thrilled to have you all join us for today's workshop, Morning Reset, Building Blocks for Your Best Life. But before we start, I'd like to ask everyone to reflect on one question. What will your future self thank you for doing today? So, through this guided activity, Ivan, our Master Certified Coach, will guide us to reconnect with what truly matters and set our intentions for the day ahead. All right, Ivan, take it away.
Good morning, all. Hi, my name is Ivan. Believe on the screen, if you move two screens down, you will see this is my profile. It's easier for you to read as well as I introduce myself. So my name is Ivan. I'm a Master Certified Coach with the International Coaching Federation with 9 years and about 3,000 plus hours of coaching experience. But what's more important today is I'm going to help you to realize some of the things about yourself that will help you to design your life in the next few years ahead so that you will thank yourself as you look back. Okay, now moving to the next slide, we are giving you a QR code over here. We want to invite you to take out your mobile phone, scan the QR code, and join us in the engagement activity as well. All right, later on there'll be some questions being flashed, and you can put in your answers anonymously or with your real name, or you can choose to put in a pseudonym as well. Okay, we'll just leave this screen here for a few seconds so that everyone has a chance to take a picture of the screen. Okay, so today's webinar is titled Building Blocks for Your Best Life. Now, what is the building blocks of your best life? In fact, if we take this question a little bit back, what is the definition of your best life, to be sure? Right? A lot of us, as we grow up, as we enter the workforce, as we get promoted in our career, we start to adopt the definition of a best life that belongs to someone else other than ourselves. That may be our parents, our supervisors, our managers, or maybe even company vision and all the people around you telling you what the best life would look like. Is it that you need to have a lot of money, big houses, happy family? Maybe you have a very purpose-filled life. These are all valid definitions, but are they your definitions? Okay, let's move to the next one. It says, who or what actually defines your best life? I think people are already answering. Maybe we can move one slide back. Who or what actually defines your best life? This is actually worthy for us to spend some time to think about it. Whether if it's not just about the career choices, but also things like where you want to live. Which kind of country do you want to live in? In a city where it is more modern and hectic? Or do you prefer to live in the countryside where pace of life may be slower, but at the same time you have time to smell the roses, right? So these are the certain things that you have to think about it yourself. I saw that some of you have already entered in your answer for the poll, so let's just jump ahead, okay? There. When was the last time you checked in on what's truly important to you? Okay, see the biggest answer over there says occasionally. From time to time, you may check in. When is it? Is it regularly or as and when? Right? Very often, I'm deeply aware. I know some of you are like that. 1/4 of you, happy for you, right? That you know not only what you want, but why you want that as well. Some of you say, I've never asked myself that question before, right? So we've mainly adopted whatever other people define for you as your best life, right? Which is fair. A lot of us actually don't stop to do a bit of a stock take. Okay, so for today's webinar, we're also going to look at each individual's building block, because your building block will then lead you to your own version of best life, right? So maybe we can move on to slide 8. Okay, that's it. We are all really, really alike in our humanity, in the sense that a lot of us want pretty much the same thing. In fact, some of these motivations are universal in nature to a point where every individual, every human being wants the same thing, just to a different extent. But that also creates a problem because all of us start to impose our own version of best life onto other people, or in this case, we are accepting other people's version of their best life into our own definition as well, because it sounds so sensible. Of course, everybody wants money, of course, everybody wants security, of course, everybody wants family time. But to what extent that is true is where it makes us unique as individuals. All right. Okay, this is just an example for you to think of it because it is something that we are pursuing all the time in the sense that we exchange our time. When we work, we exchange our time for money. But most individuals don't work for money's sake. What the money means to you is a good indicator of what are some of your motivations in life, right? Do you want money so that you can buy more family time? So that you have status? Maybe you can buy yourself freedom, right? You choose to work 2 day week instead of 5. Luxury items, or to give away to charity, people who are suffering, war-torn countries, etc. Or it could just be a statement to yourself, meaning you tell yourself, I've made it, now I earn X dollar a year, something like that, right? So this would give you a good indication of a clue of what might be your own motivation in life, some of your strongest drivers. Now, in the next slide, in the next poll, I want to invite you to plant a flag in one of these 10 boxes. Okay, if you can see the boxes over there, how is money important to you? Okay, notice that these are all reasons. And none of these reasons are good or bad. In fact, even status. I know a lot of times we see on social media, there's people are saying that, oh, we don't want to work just for status and all that. But if that is truly your motivation, it's time to be honest with yourself, right? What is it that you are working for? What does status actually mean to you? See, some popular answers are freedom, good food and physical enjoyment, yes. Security, and whatever it means, right? It could be security for your children, security for yourself, etc. Approval, I see one of you putting as approval, do better than peers. That's more of a competitive streak in you. Okay, so if you are very honest with yourself, you may then realize that what is important to you, regardless of what society says, regardless of what your family says, your parents have been telling you, bringing you up as to why money is important to you. Okay, this is a quick exercise for you to see. Now, for you to truly understand deeper, let's remove the money from the equation over here, and to understand your own motivation, some of your chief motivations in life, we will do this simple exercise called a peak experience exercise. All right. So now I'm going to invite you all to take a moment to explore a time where you felt truly alive, okay, or truly happy, truly present, truly fulfilled. Okay. If you're comfortable, I can invite you to close your eyes. Some of you who are more artistic and you like to draw, you can take a piece of paper, crayons, and just start drawing. Okay? And think about, or just note down in words as well. That works as well for some individuals. A time where you felt truly alive, where everything just makes sense and you know that, wow, maybe this is what life is all about. Okay? As you're recalling that experience, I have some prompters prepared here for you. The first one, what were you doing during that experience? In that memory, what exactly were you doing? Who were you with? Right? What are the people that's around you? Do they contribute to the importance of this experience? Or are they just extra characters around there and they are not of any significance, right? All this will make a difference. I'm just trying to get you to recall this experience as vividly as possible before we start to explore the motivational part of it, right? What kind of emotions were you experiencing? How did it feel? Were you feeling secure, happy, fulfilled, competitive, strong, driven? All sorts of emotions that are possible. right? Charitable is an emotion as well. Okay, it could be really, really big moments, or it could just be a small moment, a quiet moment where you found maybe a reading room up in the mountain with a cup of coffee, good book, and you're just sitting there, right? Whatever is the moment that makes you feel the most alive. This may or may not be your biggest achievement in life, all right? We're not talking about achievements over here, we're talking about fulfillment over here. Okay? I'll give you all some time to think about. I'll give you all some time to think about this experience first, right? Make it as vivid as possible. Picture the scene in your mind's eye. What were you seeing? What do you see? What are some of the sounds that you can remember hearing? Some emotions that you remember feeling, right? And then the ultimate question in this exercise is then for you to think about this question. What made that moment so special? Right? Why is it that this particular experience in your life popping into your head when I called for a peak experience? What was it that was driving this memory? Can you name the thing that made it special? Okay. For example, I can offer some examples. Some individuals may say, I took a 30-day trip, road trip to another country. From Asia, maybe you took a 30-day trip to Europe or vice versa, came over to Asia for 30-day trip, right? And why is it that important to you? Perhaps it's the person that went on the trip with you. Perhaps it is just the feeling that you don't have to work for the next 30 days. Freedom, right? Perhaps it's because you were with your children and you really appreciated these 30 days of family time. Or perhaps you were able to post all over social media and a lot of people were just putting in comments and saying, "Oh, wow, you really made it. I can't imagine being able to afford a 30-day trip like this." And basically, you're enjoying the approval, the status. There's no judgment here. We just have to be very honest with ourselves. What is it that made this moment so special to you? Okay? Okay. Now hold that thought, write it down. Write it down if you need to. What is it that made the moment so special to you? And in the next slide, I'm going to show you these 16 universal motivations. Okay, as well researched by Dr. Stephen Rees, the late Dr. Stephen Rees, in what is called a Rees motivation profiling. So basically, what he's discovered is that there are through a scientific method, right? Using all the methods of basically rigor of coming up with it, peer review, that there are 16 universal motivations which all of us have, just to different degrees at different points in life. Okay, most of it will not change, it doesn't change by much, but these are the 16 universal motivations, and all of us need all 16 or want all 16 to varying degrees. Which was it that you wrote down earlier? Whatever that you wrote down earlier as the reason for that experience coming to your mind, which is the closest word over here? Which is the closest word? Right? As you go through it, I'll speak to each one quickly with a sentence or two so that you understand what they mean. Okay? So for acceptance, it is basically the desire for self-acceptance and to be valued by others. Okay? Other people to accept. Curiosity is the desire for learning and knowledge and understanding. You crave new knowledge. Food over here, it extends beyond just actual food, literal food, but it's also the enjoyment of eating, physical enjoyment as well, maybe going for massage, etc. Family is the desire to raise and nurture your own children, spending time with family. Okay. Technically, this doesn't include siblings. It's basically your parents and your own children. That's family. Honor speaks of the desire to act with integrity, loyalty, and adherence to moral principles. Okay, doing the right thing. Charity, the desire to pursue social justice, basically trying to be charitable, giving to people who need it more than you. Independence speak of the desire for freedom. Order is the desire for everything to be in its place. Okay, you cannot stand messy people. You cannot stand a messy house. You need everything to be in order. You have folders within folders within folders on your desktop, right? Physical activity speaks of the desire to exercise, to climb mountains, to sweat it all out, and that's something that you truly enjoy. Challenge is the desire to for achievement, for influence, and for leadership, right? To do difficult things. Beauty is the desire for affection, a desire for beautiful things surrounding you. Collection is very interesting one. The desire to save, to collect. In the past, people used to collect stamps and all that, but in this case, it could be a desire to simply save. It could be saving things like memory, saving things like souvenirs from your trip, saving things like baby photos from your children when they were younger, etc. It could be money as well, but that's not the only one. Okay, that's collection. Social is the desire to spend time with friends and family. That's very obvious. Status, the desire for prestige, recognition, or social standing. Right? Two more. Peace, the desire for peace, safety. It's also security, but in this case, not financial security, but just tranquility, no danger coming to you. And lastly, we have competition, the desire to confront and overcome challenges. All right, often through competition, through justice. You just love a good competition. Even snakes and ladders, you try to win. All right. So I just want to invite all of you to type in the chat one or two of your chief motivations that you can identify. Just one or two of your own chief motivations that you managed to identify through the peak experience exercise earlier. What is your one or two exercise? I see a lot of independence, peace, curiosity. Okay, there's no right or wrong desires. As we mentioned earlier, these are universal motivations. So everyone desires all this, just to a different degree. So a lot of independence, curiosity, okay, peace, beauty. As you can see, if you see all the answers being poured in, if you see similarity as yourself, basically it's for you to know that, hey, I'm not the only one that desires social justice or even status, etc. And that human beings are very alike in the sense you can find comrades. At the same time, if you see that there are differences, some people are desiring things that are totally different as yours, not even a single overlap from your two or three main motivations, then that speaks to you. It basically helps you to understand that human beings desire totally different things, and the same kind of reward may not motivate another person in the same way. Okay, unless you help them to see the meaning behind the reward. Okay, how to interpret the reward. Okay, I see a lot of answers coming in. Thank you everyone for putting in your answer over there. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick example of this. For example, we brought in money at the start, saying that that is a good indicator of your motivation if you understand how is money important to you. All right, a lot of us are professionals. We are working over here, and you make your money, but that itself doesn't buy you the happiness for as the building blocks to your best life unless you understand how it can contribute to your best life. For example, if you value family time a lot, all right, but having gotten a promotion, your organization expects you to work another 10 more hours per week, right? With a 20%, 30%, 50% increment, but 10 more hours per week. And that 10 hours happen to coincide with the hours that your children are off school. That means the time that you normally spend with your children, you now have to work for 50% increment. A lot of individuals may say, oh, but 50% is a lot of money. I can do a lot of things with 50%. But to an individual who values family time as their topmost motivation, getting that promotion actually becomes a negative thing rather than a positive thing, which means they may turn down that promotion to everybody's bewilderment. Okay. So if you're going to the next slide, just back one full circle, back to where we started. Okay, the building blocks for your best life. Now, you do not only need to know what is your building block, but really if I may put it this way, the material by which the building block is made of. If you want a bigger house, for example, you may think that intuitively that is a good building block towards my best life. But you may now question yourself one layer deeper. But why is it that a big house might be a building block for my best life? Is it because now I can host a lot of friends? And if I'm able to host a lot of friends, if that is important to me, because my main motivations are social connection, maybe family time, maybe tranquility or beauty, I can beautify my house, then you know why you want a big house. It's not because of status, right? So then you may have to sacrifice something else in order to get yourself a big house. At least now you know. You're not just focusing on what society tells you, right? Oh, go get yourself a big house, go get yourself a promotion, etc. Okay. So to wrap things up, in order to know what is your best life, you may have to define it yourself. Do a bit of a motivation audit. What exactly does your best life look like? And then ask yourself why. Why is that my best life? How is that important to me to understand the building blocks? The building blocks, not just the items, the manifested items in your life or the manifested arrangements in your life, but the reason behind why those things are important to you. For example, again, to stay in the countryside, perhaps slower pace of life, but maybe tranquility and beauty, serenity, these are very important to you. Moving to the countryside might make you so much more happy than staying in the city for extended periods of time. Okay, so that is what I have prepared for you for today's short workshop on finding the building blocks for your best life. And I'm happy to take a few Q&A for the next few minutes.
All right, thanks, Ivan. And just like that, hopefully you all now have the building blocks to build your best life. So hopefully this session has given you the space to reflect on what you need to build sustainable habits that will carry you every day. As Ivan just mentioned, we will head into the Q&A session now. So if you do have a question for Ivan, please drop it into the Q&A box at the bottom of this window for us to answer. But in the meantime, Ivan, I actually have one question for you based on your workshop. My question is, does our universal motivations change over time?
Our universal motivations stick much longer than a lot of other personality profiling, Aisha. So for example, of course there are extenuating factors as well. For example, you go through a huge change in life. So for example, maybe you really value status and then you were pursuing it for the whole of your life, and suddenly you strike some kind of ridiculous lottery and you're $8 billion rich. And that may suddenly fade into the background. Perhaps you're still flaunting your wealth for the first 1 year of your life, but thereafter it fades into less importance for you, and then you might find some other things. But other than that, the 16 motivations, whatever is more important to you, tend to stay rather consistent for many years for those who have done the test.
Got it. That's very good to know. Thank you, Ivan. We do have a couple of questions coming in, so I'll just kind of dive right into it. We've had a couple of questions about journaling. So our first question is, Ivan, are you a fan of journaling? And do you think that you would suggest this for everyone to do?
Okay, personally, I don't journal on pen and paper because I'm very digital, so I'll put it on my mobile phones. I have too many notes. I'm almost embarrassed to have too many notes on my mobile phone. Whatever works for whoever. It is very useful in the sense that if you pen down your thoughts, usually you slow down your thoughts. And you, in order to write proper sentences, sometimes you justify your own sentences. It gives you enough time to formulate your thoughts. It's the same effect as going through a coaching session where you have 1 hour with a coach and you're just having all the time to yourself to just think. So that's the effect of journaling. I would recommend it definitely.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. We have a question that came in that asked, what if they don't have a peak moment?
You will have to take some time to think about it. Okay, your peak moment may not be something big. I suppose maybe in an exercise like this in the workshop, you may feel pressured to come up with a peak moment. But when you have your own time, take your own time to think about it. Perhaps your peak moment could even be lazing in bed for a few days while you're in a beach holiday, right? That may not seem like a peak moment because of a lot of pressure that, oh, I must think of a big moment. But to you, if that is your peak moment, then you have to ask yourself, why? What is it about that moment? Is it rest? Is it order, right? That gives you the peak moment. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. We have another question. How about the 16 motivations? How will they change during the life stages that you mentioned earlier?
Also, this is very close to the question that you asked, Aisha, about the 16 motivations. So these 16 motivations, we all have it all the time at any time. Okay? It's just that how much you desire of them, and they don't really change in terms of intensity by too much unless there is a big stressful moment in your life. For example, somebody who may not value family time much, upon losing someone super close to their life, in close to them in maybe in an accident or unexpectedly, they may then shift their motivation to say, now I realize how important my family is, and then they start to want to spend much more time with their family. But other than such incidences, usually it stays very consistent. It doesn't change by much.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Uh, we have another question about seeking new employment.
it's a
So
long one.
this person, this person is asking, what questions can they ask themselves and their potential employer to safeguard the alignment of their building blocks and their motivations with their workplace culture?
um, I suppose you have to be clear about your own building blocks first, right? Your own motivation. And then thereafter, understand what you want from the employer. And then you have to ask it directly. Now, it doesn't mean that you will not be able to do a job that doesn't fulfill the motivation, except that it's going to get very tiring. You will not be able to sustain it for long, and there's an easier chance of a burnout. But if you're doing something that makes a lot of sense to you, in a way, sometimes we say, I would do it even if nobody pays me. Okay, even if nobody pays you and you're willing to do it, then you're probably you're very aligned to what you're supposed to do. Okay, then thereafter, what the organization gives is how you make meaning out of it. So for example, an organization may give you unlimited days of leave. How is that important to you? To somebody who values order, for example, they may feel super lost. You're giving me unlimited days of leave. How am I going to get my work done? And then they feel really confused. But to the organization, that doesn't mean anything. It's just an actual tangible benefit. And it's how you interpret it yourself, what you make sense of it. Right? Like I know of things like, insurance coverage for family. Do you cover my family? That speaks of the need for security, usually.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Ivan. Unfortunately, folks, that's all the time that we have for this session. If you haven't already done so, please download the handout that we have prepared and use it as a template to continue building habits for yourself. To find it, please click the resource tab at the bottom of this bar of this session. Now, if you're looking to rewatch this session, the recording will be made available on the Zoom Events platform and on our YouTube page soon. And if you have a minute or two to spare, please help us fill out a short survey which will appear after this session ends, because your feedback is valuable in helping us shape any future events. All right, so for our next session, what really counts, measuring the ROI of mental health support, industry leaders will be coming together to share how they measure the impact of mental health programs differently. So to join us, you can do so by simply returning to the Zoom events lobby page and clicking the Join Now button beside the session title. For those who are new to Zoom, we've also dropped the link in the chat as well. So you can either click that link or you can head back to the Zoom events lobby page and click the Join Now button beside the session title. All right, thank you for being a part of the Mental Health Festival, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye.